Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, then my name is Katie. I'm a designer and illustrator, and I create new creative videos every Sunday. Today I am working in my sketchbook, and I really want to get back into working in sketchbooks and trying to unlock more of my creativity. I definitely find that I'm a little bit too precious about the final piece, and I really want to try experimenting more and using new mediums, so that's what this sketchbook is for. And so I thought I'd create a landscape today just using gouache and not worry too much about the final result and just have fun. So you're about to watch that process now, and I thought I would answer some of your questions whilst you watch me paint. And I put a question box out on my Instagram stories a few weeks back and got some questions, so I'll be answering them today. Hope you enjoy, and I'll see you at the end of the video.
So I've split the questions up into 4 categories. I've got business, house, creativity and other. And there's quite a few here, so I'm just going to crack on. So first up is business, and the first question is, what prompted me to take the leap into my business full-time? So this is a good question because I've wanted to go full-time freelance for the longest time. It's always been a dream and ultimate goal of mine. I definitely say the pandemic played a part in it. I found it harder to go into the office when things were opening back up, and I really enjoyed working from home. I really got into my comfort zone, and it felt like my workplace were pushing for a more office-based role rather than at home, at least certainly not at home as much as I wanted. So I found myself being, in general, incredibly stressed and unhappy. Agency life is very pressured, but I felt pretty overworked and unappreciated. So after we bought the house and discussed finances, and because I was so unhappy because of my day job, I went for the leap. I do have to say that I wasn't and am not in a financially stable place with my freelance income right now, but it's early days and I am excited to see where it takes me. I still can't really believe I finally made the jump and followed my dreams, as corny as that sounds. Next question is, what does my ideal freelance day look like? So I'd have to say that it starts with like a slow morning routine. I'm not a massive morning person, so I try to get up early but allow myself to make time for a gentle start. So I usually do some yoga and have some breakfast and then slowly make my way to the computer. Ideally, I'd love to make enough money from creating my own content, so whether that's like painting and artwork or selling artwork, sponsorships, or making money from Patreon maybe in the future. But right now I'd say my ideal day looks like creating client graphics in the morning, and then the afternoon I'd be painting in my sketchbook. Because my last job was so full on, I definitely want to do the opposite of that, and so taking things easy and at my own pace is definitely my ideal day. Which part of running your business do you enjoy the most? I would say creating the graphics are the best part, so that's usually the middle part of the project. The first stage would be the concepts and the sketches, and then the middle would be the actual creation. So like painting the elements or actually designing the content, before the final stage of proofing and amendments, and the actual creating part is definitely my favourite. What kind of person/business is the best fit as a customer for your new offerings? I'd say that the best fit would be a small business owner who are quite well established, so not someone who's brand new. Probably someone who has the budget but not the time, or like someone who wants to level up and take their business further but is just running out of time to do that. Most small business owners work solo for a long time, and so they have to juggle all the things. So the perfect fit for me would to be able to take their pressure off creating social media content and allow them to put their time in other parts of their business that they do enjoy, and so I can step in there and help them out. Best tip for small businesses on social media? Best tip? I'd probably focus on the engagement and love from your current community rather than new follows and likes. Obviously a bigger reach is great, but I do find that it can draw me into a comparison trap, and it's really hard to fight the algorithm when it's working against you sometimes. I find much more enjoyment comes from using it as a social platform to speak to my lovely community rather than getting frustrated with like following and like counts. It is really hard to switch off from that, but it means it's so much easier to be consistent because you actually enjoy being on the app. Okay, now we're on to the house questions. So how much work do we have left on the house? I mean, I don't think we'll ever be finished, but in terms of the first stage projects we've been doing, we're almost done with the lounge. When we moved in, we did all the painting and made it feel more like ours, and now we're on to the bigger projects. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen the progress of decorating the lounge at the moment. We've just had new radiators plumbed in and replaced a couple of them, and we also removed the old flooring, which was laid really poorly. And because we removed that, we discovered some rotten floor joists, so it definitely turned into a much bigger job. But Mitch and I have just finished laying our new wood flooring, so we're feeling pretty proud of that. And then we need to do the skirting and all the touch-up jobs before it's finally finished. And then we'll start on the garden, which is next on the list and the next big project. What's your favourite thing about the new house and also nearby? Our lounge dining room space is probably my favourite thing about the house. It's a really lovely open space and it really sold the house to us, and it gets really lovely light in the mornings. Nearby there's a really lovely nature reserve with some large lakes, and I feel really lucky to be within a 10-minute walk of those, especially because our last house was in the middle of a town. So that really helped us decide what we wanted or what we didn't want when we were buying a house. So being close to nature and in the New Forest was a big priority for us, and I don't think I'll ever take that for granted. Okay, on to the creativity section. Would you ever show your large scrapbooks again? For sure. I think I mentioned in my last video that I have a lot of creative hobbies. So it's kind of hard sometimes to do them all evenly, and my focus and drive for them moves in and out. So I was in a stage of journaling, now I'd like to focus in my sketchbook, and scrapbooking just hasn't been a focus lately. But I do have a lot of layouts I want to create, a lot of photos I want to document, so hopefully I'll feel that drive to get back into it soon. And I'd love to share my large scrapbook layout process and maybe album flip-throughs if that's something that you'd be interested in. What piece of art are you the most proud of? That's a hard one. I'd probably say my Lake District painting. It's funny because I actually didn't like that when I first painted it, but I really love it now. I just really like the feeling I get from it. I remember feeling really calm when I was painting it, and I love the colours. It kind of feels like the work I want to create in terms of painting style and the use of mixed media. It's slap bang in the middle of my comfort zone, so it just felt really easy and natural to paint. I'm thinking of framing the original and hanging it up in the house actually, which is quite a big deal because I never usually have my own artwork on display. So yeah, I'll go with that one. Okay, a few other questions. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Okay, so this one came from Laura, who I did some business coaching with earlier in the year. And I don't usually like questions like this because I find them really hard to answer. I know I'm quite a goal-focused person, but I tend not to think too far into the future. I'd love to be married by then, I think. I mean, it's hard to say stuff like that because it's not under my control, but who knows? Hopefully I'll be making a really good income from my freelance work. I'd definitely still like to be working freelance and creating. And obviously happy, healthy, having a great time, all that good stuff. What would you name a pet if you got one now? I don't know. I mean, I find it hilarious when pets have human names, like a cat named Clive or a dog named Jeff or something. Like when owners shout their dog names to get them to come back to them. I find that so funny. But I'd probably choose a non-human name. My old cat was called Loki, so maybe something. I know Mitch is into Greek mythology, so maybe something from that, or something random like Pepper or Coco or something. What do you recommend for someone who wants to get organised but is chaotic at the moment? So my first task with stuff like this would always be write it down. And you can make a new list every day if that's how your brain works, and the chaotic energy means things changes all the time. Just spend some time in the morning writing things down and organise those things on the list. I find just getting it out of your brain definitely helps. It kind of helps to prioritise the things that are in your head, and putting it on paper definitely helps to make it feel more manageable. Okay, last question. What are your thoughts on visual consistency as an artist on social media? Maybe this should have come under business, but I definitely This is a really good question. I'd say as artists, like, our experimenting and trying new things is always going to change our visual language, and I do think that's a good thing. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to stay in the same space all the time if it's not bringing you joy. I think it's important to follow where your interests go. So if you're interested in trying like a new medium or something, or switching up your style, then it's definitely something to follow, because, you know, creating art should be enjoyable. So I think in some ways it's important to have a visual consistency, certainly like on Instagram, because people generally look at the grid as the portfolio. But I honestly think it's more important to enjoy what you're doing, and if that means you're not visually consistent, then fine. Because I know that I certainly don't have a set style. I know I jump around a lot on like the styling of things, and I generally just paint whatever I like. Personally, I wouldn't say I have a visually consistent style at all. So I think it's fine. I think the most important thing is just that you enjoy what you're creating, and if that means you're creating different things, then so be it. Like, sometimes people might want to see that. They might not want to see the same thing every time, and it might inspire them to be a bit more free with what they're creating as well. I think like artist styles is a big thing, and I know when I was growing up I was really bothered about not having a style, but I'm definitely a lot more lax about that now, and I just go with the flow. So those were all the questions. I hope you enjoyed watching me paint this landscape, and I'm going to just do an outro now. This is a bit longer than I thought, but thank you so much for sending in your questions.
So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching that. I'm really pleased with the end result. It's quite different to what I normally do. It's a lot more saturated, and yeah, it just felt nice to just create and not really worry about it. I've definitely found with the sketchbook, although the whole point of it is that I don't worry so much, I did find it hard to start, and I have been putting it off for a few weeks because I've still got that fear of the blank page, and it's not something that I'm naturally reaching for. I'm still a little bit worried about the end result, so hopefully the more I create in it, then the less I will worry, and yeah, I'll be able to try new mediums and things. So I really like the painting that I created, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my answers to your questions. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you next week for another one. See you later.